these things aren't impossible to do, but it's not the time frame you want to be having this conversation. You normally want to have it earlier, but he's the CEO. I think what he's doing. He's trying to drive his team in a particular direction, and he expects perfection. And there'll be a cost to everything.
So this came out, Elon tweeted out just yesterday, just drove the production candidate of the Cybertruck at Tesla Giga Texas. We're seeing now quite a bit of Cybertruck sightings all over the place. What do you think, Jeff, when you saw production candidate, what does that mean?
I called that out because those words are meaningful. That's the phase actually after release candidate. So they've actually gone through a phase since we saw that photo with all the employees around the first truck being built. And now they're in production candidate phase, which is the phase right before ramp. And so we don't know if they're in the beginning of production candidate or the end, but that's exciting. Production candidate means everything's coming off a production process and a production tool. It's got other meanings behind it too, but essentially you're moving from a lower volume kind of a development tooling type phase into the everything's production worthy, ready for its million run over some period of time, but everything's on production worthy tools and processes. And now what my guess is they're doing they're doing evaluations in all these vehicles, and obviously wanted to get Elon's approval because the next phase would be to go into mass production ramp.
Gotcha. So that's like an approval process, is get the CEO to give us feedback, and then that means
different at different. Yeah, it's different at different companies, but you want to be showing the top person like this is a production worthy representative vehicle, and you'd want their feedback if there's anything you want to change, because you're going to go from these building a handful of trucks today to building a lot more, and you wouldn't want to have something flagged later on. And by the way, it's not only just how many trucks they're building, it's the supply chain behind it. They're all ramping up well ahead of this. So if they're building 100 on a certain period, there's a supply base 1 tier, 2 tiers back that's doing thousands of parts. So if there's something you'd want changed, you'd want to know it sooner than later. So yeah, this is a phase, and there'll be an approval phase. It'll be an approval to get out of production candidate phase.
What do you guys think about this? That some people are thinking pretty negatively. They see comments from Elon saying that while we think it is our best product ever, it's an extremely difficult product to build. We're in uncharted territory because it's not like anything else. And then he'll release the delivery date and pricing when we are ready to do so. Some people take that and they think that that's a negative. They think that that means that they're going to be delayed. What do you guys think? I think that that's what you interpreted, right, Christian?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just going off of Elon. I mean, look, this is a great product. It's a revolutionary product. That being said, Elon, and this is what I've been thinking, he's been talking about how difficult this is to do. And I know there's a lot of excitement, but the team, they're going to figure it out. They got the greatest engineers in the world, but it is a challenge. And I think Elon's been communicating to that this is a huge undertaking to mass produce this vehicle. I'm not an expert in the engineering of Cybertruck, but I can, see right in front of my eyes that this is going to be difficult, right? And this ramp might take, once they hit their stride, it might be great, but getting there is going to be painful. It's going to be really painful because, it's unlike anything ever tried to do in the automotive. So as great as it will be, the ramp to get there is going to be very challenging. And I think Elon wants to do it right. I think he doesn't want to just put product out there. He wants it to be perfect. And if it's going to be perfect, that means it's going to take a little bit longer. So we were hoping for a Q3 event. He had talked about it on Q1. He didn't mention anything about Q2. And I talked about that on the show, about a month ago, that there was no mention of a Cybertruck event. So to me, I just thought maybe there might be a delay. Again, it's not the end of the world, but I think that it's going to be a little bit slower than we thought maybe at the beginning of the year. And, it'll get there. But I think Q4, maybe an event, and maybe we'll see, a few thousand by the end of the year.
That's not my...
He said precise, not perfect. Okay, get it right.
Well, he said perfectionism is something. He said something in the email about perfectionism.
I'll show that leaked email shortly, but I don't interpret it that way at all. So first of all, we're seeing Cybertrucks everywhere, correct? They're being driven in multiple states. The rumor is that they're delivering 5 to some of these select sales centers and then they're going to do the delivery event, and they're going to have 5 lucky people to be able to receive them at that time. There's already potentially rumors that they're being contacted now, telling them that they're going to be able to do this. So I don't think that the delivery event's going to be delayed. Their trucks are out there. They're making 10 a day is I think what they're thinking. What will be delayed is the scaling and the production later, but that doesn't mean that the delivery event will be delayed at all. I know you had some points about this, Alexandra. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, he initially said it will be in September. There's still a chance it could be in September. We've got 5 weeks to go. And as Herbert just said, organizing the event itself doesn't take many trucks. And they seem to prepare one of the sides of Giga Austin, putting some stuff up that looks as if it could be eventful. The other indicator is that yesterday on Wednesday they announced that 30,000 referral points get you an invite. So obviously there's something brewing. Is there a date yet? I don't know, but there seems to be something brewing. Could be a couple of weeks away. Elon didn't give any specs. He's been poked by lots of us, including me, giving us prices, giving us, the specs of the first models. Remember, initially it was supposed to be a single motor and a tri-motor. Now they're at a double motor and probably a tri-motor. Which one is coming out first? What are the prices? What are the ranges? Whatever. So these close to 2 million reservation holders reserved something that doesn't correspond to the specs now. So who gets delivered first? Nobody knows. There's certainly going to be some employees getting it first. There's certainly going to be some of the Tesla veterans who are going to get it first. There's some rumors that the all-in conference that is taking place middle of September in Los Angeles may see some at the after party that is called the Cyber Party. So that there's sort of breadcrumbs a bit everywhere, and obviously we want to see the good of them. Nothing has been confirmed, and in the end it really doesn't matter whether this car comes out beginning of September, end of September, or middle of October. It has no influence on whatsoever other than our curiosity and impatience, of which I'm the first one guilty, but it really doesn't matter. It is such a spectacular product. What got me a little bit yesterday, and I know we'll get there, is the tone of that email. And before we get there, just want to make sure everybody knows. Nobody knows if this email is real. Nobody knows whether it dates from yesterday. When we will look at it, there's a couple of indicators. I think it was at 2:01 o'clock. There seems to be an ID in the bottom that corresponds to a certain employee. I mean, do I really believe an employee would leak an email where his ID is still on it? There's so many things about this email that I'm not comfortable about. But if it is true, I think we should address the elephant in the room.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the email. Yeah, it could be. I mean, we'll ask Jeff what he thinks, but here's the email, supposedly leaked. We don't know if this is real. And it says, Elon to everybody, due to the nature of the Cybertruck, which is made of bright metal with mostly straight edges, any dimensional variation shows up like a sore thumb. All parts of this vehicle, whether internal or from suppliers, need to be designed and built to sub 10 micron accuracy. That means all part dimensions need to be to the third decimal place in millimeters, and tolerances need to be specified in single-digit microns. And I love this line: if Lego and soda cans, which are very low cost, can do this, so can we. I mean, it sounds like very much precision. It predicates perfectionism, and it means that he wants to get done so precise that when they can do really scale and just pump this out just like you can soda cans and Lego. What was your interpretation, Jeff?
Yeah, I had to read this a few times because start with just a couple of comments. On the event, I agree. It doesn't matter if it's September or October. I don't believe these vehicles are going to stores. I believe these are vehicles that are going for test cases, both for hardware, for reliability, and to the software teams. I believe they've been starved of units, and they've been doing things mostly on simulators, and they need to get real product to test and validate in this phase. So I believe that these units are for internal use. And if you look at how they're made, there's no wrapping around the seats. They don't look like they're going to a customer. They look like they're going to somebody internal to the company. But again, I could be wrong. And then in terms of this email, I had to read it a few times. Normally, so when you're having a discussion around tolerances in the product development, manufacturing, phases of work, normally you would have that conversation especially if you're talking about 10 microns. 10 microns, I think, is the width of a red blood cell. Like your eyes can't even see, it's arguable if your eyes can see even 50 microns of delta or shift on anything. And usually in the smartphone world, we're targeting things around 100 microns or less. And if we have to go less than 100 microns, then we're doing something called optical sorting and binning, which is like you can't just take this panel, and just build a truck. You've got to actually optically bin them so when they get put together, they fit with a tighter tolerance than you normally design to. So I can go off in a very wonky discussion, but normally this tolerance discussion is very early. If you have it, and this is what I don't understand, or we don't know, because there's so many things that get tolerance in a design. It could be the machining. Well, machining, you should be doing the very tight tolerances, to around 1,000th of an inch. So, some of these things are like, okay, maybe they're not as big of a stretch. It depends what he's referring to. If it's the actual gaps on the car, I don't know how you even get to that. And the other thing is, I actually don't know how you would actually measure it. In the fact you probably would need optical inspection equipment or lasers. There's no pin gauges. There's no that they normally, if you see like final, inspection of a car, they're usually putting gauges in just to see the gaps and make sure the fit's okay. So the measurement system would also come into play. But yeah, these things aren't impossible to do, but it's not the time frame you want to be having this conversation. You normally want to have it earlier, but he's the CEO. I think what he's doing, he's trying to drive his team in a particular direction, and he expects perfection, and there'll be a cost to everything. Just if you crank down the tolerances on every part, you will pay more for them unless you design them to meet those tolerances originally. So let me repeat that. If you change your tolerances and you make them tighter, you make the specifications tighter, and you did not design for them originally, you will pay more for those parts because those suppliers will have to build more parts to get parts inside of your tolerance window.
So why do you think it comes out so late? I mean, this email really yesterday bothered me. I was one of the first people I received that, and I refused to retweet it. First of all, because I didn't like it, obviously. But the second, because it just seemed so unreal that this would happen now. I mean, I just can't see him going to Austin, seeing these cars, seeing a couple of gaps. I'm sure there were some, no doubt. Even some, if you opened up those cars, you could see it wasn't perfect at certain spots. No doubt about it. And I agree, the stainless steel brings with it that you have to be even more accurate than anything that you can, put paint over it and smoothen it out. But I mean, don't tell me that they're discovering today that stainless steel is more difficult to make accurate. I mean, you can ask any dishwasher producer or fridge producer or anything else, and they know darn well that stainless steel is a tough object to make precise. So I had two reactions. I mean, if this is true, it really makes me uneasy. It doesn't mean that I don't believe in Tesla, don't get me wrong, but it makes me really uneasy that they would discover this so late and that Elon then would write an email that I actually found friendly. It was like, okay, this is the new tolerance and whatever. I mean, I would be, if I would be Elon and would just discover this, I mean, that would be a real thing to piss me off, right?